make your wall walks RX plus is to move this line closer to the wall. If you practice harder than you play, so if you practice with, let's say, this line at 8 inches or maybe even 6 inches away from the wall walks are going to get so much harder. I would liken it to if you only practice your wall balls with a 30-pound wall ball and then you get to use a 20 in competition, it'll feel like a dream. It'll feel like a breeze. Same thing goes for wall walks. Make your wall walks a little bit harder. I recommend changing where your target line is next to the wall, move it closer to the wall, or potentially you can move the finish line and the starting line a little bit farther from the wall, or maybe you could do a little bit of both. Bump this out a couple inches, bump this in a couple inches, and then you'll be doing wall walks RX plus, and that's gonna make your life a heck of a lot harder, but it's gonna make it easier come competition day. Another thing you could do hypothetically is wear a vest. That seems way too difficult, but you could try it. I personally have messed around with moving the lines, and wow, it makes the actual RX wall walks so much easier.
Yeah, so I mean, right now it's 5 o'clock, typically around 4:30-ish. I'm starting this recovery routine, which is 3 rounds of 20 to 25 minutes in this barrel sauna at about 200 degrees, and then 5 minutes in an ice barrel at about 42 to 45 degrees. Whew. And what that's doing is it's improving your circulation, and by improving your circulation, you are going to rid yourself of the inflammation from the training. So you're not going to be as sore or as achy by doing contrast therapy. That's the physical benefits of it. The mental benefits of it, I think, are even greater in that, you know, it's building stress resilience, it's building grit. And I've noticed over time that it takes something monumental now for me to get stressed out. I've just practiced so many of these good stressors that my nervous system responds very well to stress now. From an immune system standpoint, I never get sick. So I know that contrast therapy has definitely built a robust immune system. Having, you know, very rarely getting sick. Maybe once every 5 years I'll get a cold or something. So don't get sick ever.
That is the frog kick. Now, I know I'm gonna get a lot of haters. I mean, we always do. It's a kipping video. So there's gonna be haters. Hi, haters. Hello. I know kipping pull-ups aren't real. We're cheating. Anyway, so I know that when I say frog kick, you're like, come on, Ben, seriously? But here's what I want you to do. Think about it. When you're doing a frog kick pull-up, those are like those really ugly pull-ups where people go like this. Got their feet all wide. They're pulling up, pulling up, pulling up, and they're like, I can't get there. Yeah, yeah. And then they are able to get their chin above the bar. There's a reason that works, right? It's because they're actually popping their hips. They think it's a frog kick, and frog kick, if you've ever seen a frog swimming, they have their feet really wide, and they just extend and extend. This is a modified frog kick. We can call it a frog kip. I just made that up 2 seconds ago. So here's what I want you to do, is rather than allowing your feet to spread really wide, I actually want you to think about gluing your feet together and then trying to do a frog kick. The key is that you need to do it with the proper timing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna practice just doing our normal arch and hollow swings. So we're gonna do some kipping. So kipping, and then I want you to start lifting your knees just a little bit. And then at the top of my backswing, at the top of that lever position, when I'm like this, you'll notice it's very similar to the position I was laying on the ground. I want you to think frog kick, okay? But you can't let your feet spread apart. That's the key here. So watch. Do a couple swings where I'm lifting my knees up a little bit. And then at the back of this kip, I'm just gonna frog kick. And that's variable speed double unders. Oftentimes I see athletes, they have one speed and one speed only. Normally it's really, really fast. So basically when they do double unders, all they can do is, that's it. They just got one speed and it causes them to trip, just like I just did. They have one speed. Maybe it's not very fast, maybe it's really fast, maybe it's somewhere in between. The way to develop true mastery in double unders is to learn how to vary your speed. Can you do slow double unders and fast double unders without tripping? So here's what I mean by that. So maybe here's my normal speed, something like this, but can I slow it down? And then can I go faster? And then can I slow it down? right? How slow can I make it? A true double under master can vary their speeds from really, really slow and controlled and relaxed to really, really fast. The last thing I want to teach you is using a heavier ball in practice. Generally speaking, outside of the open, I am always using a heavier wall ball or a higher target. And what that does is that conditions my body for a higher standard, for something that's harder than the normal standard, so that when eventually I come back and I'm using a 20-pound ball to 10 feet high, it is easy and it almost feels like a walk in the park. So the final scale, the final modification that I've used with success is simply adding a PVC pipe. So for athletes, for whatever reason, they're having trouble jumping onto the sharp, square, rectangular box, I'll take a plate, put it on top of the box, put a PVC pipe under the plate. So something like that, okay? You're still jumping to the same height that would be required to jump onto the 20-inch box. You just, for whatever reason, it removes that mental barrier of a sharp rectangular object. So really simply, you can just jump over and back. I've seen people jump over this laterally, but especially if we're trying to have it carry over to the box jump, I would do exactly like Casey just did. Show us one more time. She's squaring up to the PVC, doing all of the same mechanics that we talked about, and she's jumping up and over. And if she does fail, I'll do it because I don't know how this is going to go. But if she does fail, right, the chances of this PVC actually hurting us, very, very low compared to a sharp box that's either made of wood or metal. Which is my favorite strategy for Isabel. So we've talked about, by now you already have the right weight on the barbell. You've practiced your power snatch, your feet are in the right position, you're using a hook grip. What's the rep scheme? We have 30 reps. Then by far the most efficient way to do Isabel, and I've proven it over and over again by beating people who should be beating me in this workout, by doing singles. Every single rep, I suggest doing quick singles. So quick singles look simply like this. I step up to the bar, I get my feet set, and this should all happen relatively quickly. I reach down, I get my hook grip. Most barbells are gonna have knurling marks on it, so you should be able to easily look down and make sure that your hands are pretty much dead even. I get set up, I snatch, I stand, I drop. Yes, it's loud. All my neighbors here probably hate me, but all I'm doing is I'm putting power into the ground, snatching that bar overhead, standing up. As soon as I lock it out and I'm standing up, I drop the bar. I drop it in a controlled fashion so that it's not bouncing across the gym. I drop it, and then I might do 1 or 2 breaths, and then I'm right back on the bar. Obviously, as you get tired, your breathing might get a little bit quicker, but what we're trying to do is we're just trying to set a steady pace where you're not relying on your brain to say, okay, I'm ready to pick it back up. Because chances are you're not going to pick the bar back up. You're going to rest for 10, 15 seconds. So if I was doing all 30 reps of Isabel, here's what my pace would be. I'll do 3 reps for you. So 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, and that's what I'm going to do. That is jumping your feet off the ground. Here's what it looks like. So I'm here, I get into this downward dog position, but rather than lifting my knees up, I kind of lift my knees up and my feet at the same time. So it looks like this. Okay, and then I'm walking. So full speed looks something like this. A much more efficient way to cycle is to use the barbell bounce, use the absorption of that weight to go into your next rep. So here's what it looks like. You'll notice that when I'm receiving the bar, I'll try to do it in slow motion, the bar hits my shoulders, it immediately puts me into a dip, and then I explode from the dip into my next movement. All right, it's time to talk about my favorite part. While I love getting people their first bar muscle ups and ring muscle ups, and we have tons of content on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all of it to help people get their first reps, this is one that I'm pretty proud of figuring out. And that's the difference in the kipping unbroken ring and bar muscle ups. And what I mean by that is when we're trying to string together a set of, let's say, five unbroken, the approach on the bar muscle up side should be quite different than the ring muscle ups. And that's again because of the apparatus, because of what we're using. The rings will move forward and back, which is a good thing. The bar does not move forward and back, which is also a good thing. With the ring muscle up, the cue that I teach athletes is fall back. And what that means is that when we're locked up at the top of the rings and it's time to transition to our next rep, into our kip, I tell people to just kind of throw their head and shoulders back, and it almost feels like you're trust falling off the rings, obviously with your hands still on the rings, you're falling back. What that does is that generates a huge, momentous kip. And honestly, there's a lot of people who say the second kipping ring muscle up, if you're actually good at doing the kip properly, the second is a lot of times easier than the first because you have so much momentum. But that does not work with bar muscle ups. And this is a huge, huge issue that I fix at every single one of my bar muscle up seminars, is a lot of people will try to fall back on their bar muscle ups, and what that does is that gives them way too much momentum, and it almost makes them start to Tarzan swing. It gives them so much crazy momentum on that arch, and they'll just fall off the bar, or it just won't work out. They feel uncoordinated. With a bar muscle up, rather than fall back, I want you to think fall down. And what that means, as you can see in this video, is rather than driving my head and shoulders back and then dropping below the rings, with a bar muscle up, I'm actually kind of allowing the bar to stay really close to my body as I transition to the next rep. We're not wildly falling back and going to the world's most aggressive kip. We actually kind of keep it a little bit conservative by keeping the bar close. I'll tell athletes to actually re-bend their arms on the way down. And what that does is that helps keep the bar close to your body so that you can maintain a strong, balanced kip into the next rep. Hopefully you can see the difference here, like how far does my shoulders and chest get away from the bar versus how far away did my shoulders and chest get from the rings. It definitely is a difference, and it's even if it's not as visible on video, it certainly is very different mentally. When I tell people at either seminar, it's like, hey, when you're on the rings, fall back. Or when you're on the bar, just fall down. Keep that bar close. Stop trying to drive yourself back behind the bar because it's actually messing you up for your future reps. If you can unlock that little intricacy between the ring muscle ups and the bar muscle ups, it makes so many people's muscle ups just click. I mean, I've seen people at my seminars go from like 1 or 2 ring muscle ups in a row to 5+. Same thing with bar muscle ups. It'll just unlock the rest of these potential reps that they have because they never re-kipped effectively and efficiently. So again, fall down for the bar muscle up, fall back for the ring muscle up. And then after you guys get warmed up for the cleans, we're also gonna warm up this handstand push-up. If you can't do that, we're gonna do pike push-ups or scale the range of motion. Anyone have any questions? Coach, can you show me that one more time? I missed the whole thing.